Anyway, so yeah, Simon Chardiet's New York stories, and so I will continue. This is like more my descent into the abyss, right? Uh, so uh, I had received. We left off. I quit the worms, like rage quit or depression quit or something, as if my infallible marksmanship when it comes to my foot is concerned. I now have these two shoe boxes full of like basically speed and opiates or opioids or whatever. You know, we just call it manteca back then, which is why I was playing manteca. Manteca is like anyway, it's manteca. So I was playing manteca. So I had all this manteca and I had all this fucking speed, right? And then I go to this. There was this really great Polish restaurant around the corner from where I lived. It was called Christine's, and they had like all this stuff like you could get like mixed vegetables. It was like string beans and cauliflower and broccoli and carrots, and they baked them, so they were really good, and like potato pancakes and pierogies and all that stuff, like. And I would go there and eat. It's so funny how much I could eat back then, even though I weighed like 10 pounds less than I weigh now. But like, man, could I eat? So I was there eating, and I ran into this long-haired hippie guy that I knew from Central Park. Or at least he said, "Yeah, Simon, I remember you from the park." Blah blah. I won't give his name here, but like, then he was like, "Yeah, man, uh, I got all this speed, all this amphetamines, the amphetamine sulfate, man. If you ever need any crank, give me a call." And I was like, hell yeah. I felt like I hit the jackpot. Not only do I have two giant boxes of free drugs, but now he was like, he sold weed and speed. And as you know, my song is Speed, Weed, and Whiskey. Although I only drank whiskey when I was speeding. So this is really when shit took off for me. Because, like, I did, so now I had all these drugs, and like I didn't think anything was wrong, you know. I was like, oh, I'm gonna start a new band and I'm gonna do all these things, But meanwhile, all I was doing was getting high. I was like, yeah, I would sit there and I'd be like, oh, let's go get high, let's go get high. And then to pick up the guitar again, and I'd be like, no ideas, no nothing, just total idiot. So then I'll give you an example of my stage of mind is that I was playing with Barbecue Bob and the Spare Ribs, and we were playing out in Newark, New Jersey. We used to play out there a lot. And I was like, Bob, my amp doesn't work. My amp doesn't work. My amp, what's the matter, man? It won't work. He goes, did you try plugging it in? He goes, plugs it in, So that was kind of where, then my kid's mom, at this point she was my kid's mom, she comes up to me, she goes, I'm up the pole. I'm up the pole. I was like, holy shit. I didn't think, we never thought we were going to have kids and nothing. And now and she was like, what should I do? And like, I already felt like I got that kid's back. She told me whatever it is, it probably looked like a shrimp or something. But like, here I am, this total fucking drug addict, but I got that kid's back. Like, I'm totally full of shit. But I was like, yeah, let's have the kid. What the hell? So now I got a wife, a kid on the way. I just quit the band that I was making my magnificent $50 or $100 a week from, you know what I mean? And I am sliding into having this massive, massive fucking drug habit. So I didn't think anything was wrong. And I think the next 2 or 3, we decided we couldn't have kids in this little apartment, so we decided to move. This, in my drug-addled logic, I thought, well, the Dead Boys are from Kent, Ohio. The Pretenders are from Kent, Ohio. Around, I'm saying around there, Cleveland, Kent, Akron. They're all like 30 miles. So like, they're all Devo, the James Gang, Wild Cherry, the Necros, the Cramps, uh, the Pretenders. They're they're all from Ohio. So I'm gonna go to Ohio and I'm gonna start a band out there, and I'm gonna try to be like, you know, I'm gonna try to be like DOA or like the Replacements or something, and just like so. We decide we're gonna move, and we like sublet our apartment to Tom and Jerry from 2 Minutes Hate, right? So I'm just doing drugs and doing. I don't think about like helping out with the moving, helping out. All I'm thinking about is party, party, party. I'm doing all this speed and everything. So like, I remember the night when we did actually move, I said, let's go through Philly because I wanted to pick up some more speed. I figured speed would help me, move all the things. So we couldn't, the guy never showed up or answered his phone or anything. So it was like no speed. So now all of a sudden, I'm in this moving van going to Ohio, and I'm like, what the fuck have I just done? And like, Ohio, they got like 3.2 beer, and like maybe you could find like a little tiny piece of pot like this big once a week, but you can't really get high out there the way I was getting high. Not like New York, like a wide open town where you could just lawless, no laws. You really had to fucking attract attention from you really had to like stand up on top of a fucking car, pull down your pants and scream, please arrest me. And maybe 2 hours later the cops would come. I mean, it was like, you could get anything, you could do anything, any other day or night, you know what I mean? If you wanted to like, get a Drano enema at 3:30 in the morning, you could probably find it. So now I'm in Ohio, and we get there, and the I just now I have like all the manifestations of being a fucking drug addict with no drugs. So I'm just pretty much useless. I spend I'm trying to find enough. I'm trying to find a little bit of pot here and there. I'm not making any money. I'm just useless. Then our house burns down, and it's a lot of my kids' mom's paintings got destroyed. I was able to save my guitars, but a lot of her paintings in her art studio got destroyed. Like we had this, vision to live in this house and everything. It was really cool. I wasn't surfing yet, so I didn't have that mentality to like be on the ocean all the time. And I didn't realize that you can't. I kind of broke my thing of like not doing a lot of hard drugs while I was with her. So now I'm like, I figure if I go to Ohio, I won't really be able to get any drugs, so everything would be cool. You know, I had like just no idea. So then we were homeless in Ohio, and we're sleeping on people's couches, and we're sleeping in these hippie houses where the places were infested with fleas, and we're getting bit up by fleas, and she's getting more and more pregnant, and we're fucking homeless in Ohio, you know, and I started taking these jobs. I worked in this auto parts factory for one day, but I had to work with this big saw, and it was right there, and it's like no hand protection. I realized I was going to lose my fingers. You know, I'm a klutz. I could barely tie my fucking shoes. I got no business working in a machine shop, you know, and so I quit. I got a job as a janitor in a medical waste disposal facility, and you know, nowhere to live. Cops were always on my tail. They took one look at me and they knew, you know, I was like, so every time I go down the street, the cops would, I would get tossed, you know. But there were some good things that were fun out there. Uh, on May Day, you know, May Day is always the day you got to, you know, for all of us anarchist people, we celebrate May Day. So we, at the break of day, after being out all night on May Day, me and this guy Lance, the skinhead. He was like an anarchist skinhead. And then my kid's mom, we took a cinder block and we threw it through the window of a bank, smashed it in a bank, and we just ran like hell and we got away with it. And that was fun. And I went to see the Necros, Corrosion of Conformity, and DOA play in Youngstown, Ohio, and hyper as hell. And I tried various things. I tried playing in this bar band, but at first they were going to be a blues band, which I was cool with, but then they morphed into like a classic rock copy band, and I was just like, they kicked me out for not playing everything just like the record. But for a while I was, you know, playing the perpetual $50 gigs. But I was going now. The minute I leave New York, everything blows up. Nightingales is open again, and now the bands are playing there for the door. So instead of a no cover, they're playing for the door. And this guy Tom Hosier's running the door, and the bands are fucking racking. They're making like $1,000, $2,000. All the Worms are playing without me. They don't need me. So I came back to New York and I started just going in there. Tom would let me do this, and I would get a Saturday night or something, and I'd play. And I would get like Howie Wyeth or Charles Otis, and I would get various bass players, Mark Dan or Lenny Nelson, whoever I could, and we just go in there and play just whatever songs we could just whip out off the top of our heads. And I was making like 1,000. The band was pulling in $1,000, you know. So I would take the bus back to New York with like a Fender Bassman head, electro voice speaker cabinet, and my guitar, and I drag all that shit. Just like it would take me forever to drag it down the Port Authority with like winos and panhandlers. Like, hey, let me help you carry your stuff. Give me $10. And I was like, hey, let you touch my stuff, man. You know, like, you know what I mean? Like, oh, and I'd go back to New York and try to make a little money. It was really scrounging out there, and we eventually got a place to live. But you know, I like at this point I was seriously deteriorating myself. Like the last time I ever saw Zon, we didn't play C Squat this time. We played this guy Scam Man Joe, and he had another squat. It was on Avenue C between B and C, and we played there. And he was one of the hippie guys. So the other band was kind of a hippie band, and the Pop Tones played. And it was like the last Zon was like in really bad shape. He smelled. He had a beard, and he had like an overcoat on all the time, and he fell asleep before the show. And we would try to wake him up. Hey, Zon, come on, man, wake up. It's our time to play. Wake up. And he just goes, I was up before. And he goes back to sleep. But we woke him up and we got him up there, and he played fucking great. And was like the last time I ever saw him. I never saw him again. And I never even ran into him in the street. And so anyway, we were going back to, New York, trying to make some money and doing various things, And then Cindy would go back to New York. We realized, wait, fuck this. You can't make no money in Ohio. Everything is like these $1.90 an hour jobs. Everything's really fucking square. It's like there's all this shit. Like everybody really believes all that shit they tell you in school and church and all that shit. It's like there's a few fucking punks, a few skinheads, a few hippies, and they live this kind of aim, like the cops are like, always on your fucking tail. Let's get the fuck out of here. Fuck this place. And then, but I got into a big fist fight with Jerry from 2 Minutes Hate over 2 Minutes Hate played right before Jane was born, and Cindy was like, 9 months or whatever, and we played, and then like, and then we had the kid. I got into a like fist fight with Jerry, and he broke my nose again, and I got him down on the ground in like one of those headlocks, but not before he popped my nose pretty good. I mean, he splattered it pretty good, and but we're friends to this day, he's a good man, he's a good man. I mean, we fought, so what, we had we didn't snark at each other the internet. We settled our differences like men, It's like people should just fucking fist fight each other instead of like saying shit to each other, on the internet. Like, nah, just punch him in the fucking face, man. So we decide we're going to move back to New York. So we do. We got this place in Glendale, Queens. So Glendale, if you go up Glendale, it's to the other end of it, it's Forest Hills again. So like now I've made the complete fucking circle. Like I'm right back where I started from. And Raven was our roommate, and this other kid, Eric. And so anyway, yeah, so Raven was our roommate. That was a trip. So back in New York, and like speed, just right back to it, The minute I got back to New York, I was like, yay, let's go to Nightingales, And then the speed dealer cut me off because he wanted me to buy like $500. He didn't want to sell small amounts anymore. So now I'm wandering to Nightingales, and all these years later, like 4 years later, that smell, the burning fucking breath mint, so it was crack. So I started smoking crack because I couldn't get speed. And that shit kicked my ass, man. It's like after doing that for like 3 or 4 months doing crack, and my kid's mom told me to get out. She told me to leave. She goes, "You're a junkie. You're useless. You're dragging me down and everybody down, and you can't stay here anymore. And I'm taking your guitar because you're just going to sell it for drugs." So she threw me out. She says, "Come back when you get clean." So I ran into this girl. This was the same girl that pimp guy got shot in the ass and ran into Nightingales after getting shot 4 times in the ass. And I told Bad, keep playing. That girl that had been working, now I see her on the train, and she looked really good. She was wearing a business suit. She had an attaché case. She looked all like healthy. And I asked her like, "Hey, how you doing?" She goes, "I'm great. I'm clean. I quit. I don't do anything." I said, "You don't do anything?" "Nah." I was like, she goes, "Well, I went to this place that it's not like you just go there and you sit down and you learn how to It's not like they lock you up or anything. It's like you go in there and you just walk in there and sit down, and like everybody is the same like you, and you just learn how to not do it no more. I was like, can you take me? And she did. She took me there. Then I ran into this other kid I used to get nice with, and he was just got out of jail. And I was like, yo, let's go get nice. And he was like, I don't do that anymore. So he took me there. So I started going there. And it was like the Tompkins Square riots, at that time. So I couldn't even sleep in the park. And I'm lucky because I'm lucky that I stopped when I did, or I would have just been like, living in the fucking street, you know? I was like, I realized, yo, the jig's up, you know? I mean, we were all crazy. We did a lot of fucking crazy shit. We partied, whatever. We all did the same shit. But when she tells me to leave, and I saw the anger and how disappointed she was with me and shit, and I was like, I have, I am not being an honorable man. This has happened to me twice in my life where I had to look in the mirror and say, I'm not an honorable man. I looked in the mirror and I saw my father's face. And to this day, I believe it was my father's ghost telling me, you know, like, so I'm so glad I got out of that shit, you know? And I never went back. I mean, it was a little rough in the beginning. I ran into this guy one time who was a cop I knew, and I used to get high with him, and he had just robbed a bunch of drug dealers on Avenue D. So, like, I kind of fell off the wagon. We were getting nice. This is about 2 weeks after I started, going to this place. And then after that, I think I had a drink, and then maybe I smoked weed once or twice, but then it just tapered off. And then I remember February 6th, 1989, from then on, I never have done any drugs or booze or anything. I never smoked a cigarette in my life. So that was not a fucking thing for me. But like all the other shit, I never have done it since, And, you know, uh, so I guess that was my first coping skill for growing up in such a chaotic and violent, abusive fucking world was eating, and then it was drinking and drugging. So now I had to learn, like, new way to live. So just like Zahn said, I need a different way to live. So that's the end of this chapter. And indeed, I'm going to take the next 30 the 30 next 32 years, and I'm not gonna like give a long thing on it. I'm just gonna take all the best single stories about shit that I think might interest you and kind of condense them, so it's going to be jumping around. I gave this long narrative about the worms because remember I was in my 20s, and it was something that I'd wanted to do all my life, work for all my life. And, I fucking made it. I was like, you know, doing my music in the fucking Lower East Side, playing to crowds of people, you know what I mean? And I don't know what the fuck compels me to pick up one of these things and get in front of a bunch of people and play at them. Do I really think I'm doing them a fucking favor or something? Like, what the fuck is wrong with me that I ever wanted to be a musician and get up in front of a bunch of people like, hey, here I am. Like, the fuck is wrong with me? I don't know, but too late to stop now. All right, kids, I'm going to go back to practicing. Love you all. Take care.